Welcome to the Year 13 IB Visual Arts exhibition at the British International School, Phuket. We're really excited to show you all of our students' work. We have 13 students exhibiting in our exhibition, and they have collectively over 130 artworks on show. There's a huge variety of work. We have a mixture of different media. There are sculptures on show using ceramics, paper mache, paper clay, and also we have lots of photography, we have painting and drawing, and we also have a lot of mixed media pieces as well. We were really lucky to have two visiting artists open our exhibition, Soon Papan and Juffy Jube. They are local artists in Phuket, and they create work based on landscapes. That's Soon Papan, and he produces really beautiful seascapes. And also Juffy Jube, who has a really quirky style, and she paints cats in very ornate costume and decoration.
Hello, I'm Ada. I'm a student in British International. I'm an IB student, and here's my exhibition. The theme of my exhibition is kind of mixed, but it tries to explain the thoughts of freedom, stoicism, envy, egoism, and etc. First of all, let me introduce Agony in Form 1 and 2. It started out as a kind of a sketch, especially the small sculptures. I was just experimenting with the clay for the first ever time, and I tried to kind of go with the Castlevania style. I tried to put them on stakes actually beforehand. I was kind of in an angry state at that time, so it was kind of more of a expressionist piece more than a depth behind it type of piece. Same goes for the portrait sculpture. When Kunjer Wong came to our school, I worked with him and actually learned how to use clay and manipulate it to my own liking. For my second sculpture, this is called the Jinn. It's kind of like a Aladdin style lamp, which has a jinn inside it that can grant wishes. But the whole point of the piece is greed. To begin with, we can see how greed affects people in day-to-day life, and how the more we want things, the more we harm ourselves in pursuit of those things. And at some point, we get entrapped in this cycle, and the more we try to push ourselves out, the more it tries to pull us back, which harms us even more. And it's like a cycle that continues like that. And I tried to convey this with a bunch of blood splatters I made from acrylic paint and some water, a handprint behind it maybe as well, that tries to showcase the human imprint that it conveys. For my last piece, this is called Wings of Salvation. This is kind of a big topic even to explain in a couple of minutes, but to summarize, the pot showcases constraints of a person, how a person is constrained by the school, for example, by their jobs, by the responsibilities they need to accomplish in their daily life, and how this makes them rush their maturing process. For example, a person has problems with, I don't know, alcoholism, for example, and they didn't mature out of it. They went to rehab and they were forced out of it, and they go into a darker path because they couldn't mature out of it properly. And the more we experience these constraints, the more we try to push ourselves out of the pot, the more beautiful we become, the more free of thought we become. We have character to our thoughts and values, the more we learn lessons from the problems we have. But the main thing is you can't really leave the pot fully either, because you're dependent on your constraints because of the modern world. And even though you can't really show your full potential, I think you should try to blossom as much as you can. And that's the whole ideology of the piece. As for my paintings, as you can see, There's some animation concepts we had done when Jaflame came to our school. I was interested in the Turkish mythology atlas, and I tried to have like a dark fantasy setting. As for these ones, it's kind of like a futile fight that is watched by a bunch of viewers. Seeing all my pieces together, I was, to be honest, really proud. I didn't really think I would come this far because I wasn't really planning on making really big things or really beautiful things like these out the get-go. I was kind of expecting something more mediocre, and I wasn't really expecting such a big exhibition as well, which was quite nice. It's my first time showcasing my art to people, and it's really nice to see their feedback to me, which was mostly in a good way.
Hello, my name is Alisa. I'm a visual art student in IB, British School, Phuket. And these are my exhibition pieces. The main theme of my artwork for this exhibition is connecting music with art. Ever since I was little, I like to imagine scenarios to lyrics of the songs and create atmospheric art to music. In my exhibition, I wanted to connect my two favorite things, music and art, and portray and convey the theme of relationships, their lovely and toxic sides. First, we have the paintings that open my exhibition. These are the first one you see when you go in the exhibition. These reflect on my experiences and the experiences I heard in songs that I listened to. This one is named Louise. This one is inspired by a song by TV girl Louise, which talks about toxic relationships and how women are objectified and can be used for intimacy in relationships. These two artworks continue that theme. The artwork Dove reflects on how I went through healing after a toxic relationship. And this one talks about how I went through the process of missing the person and having like a kind of a Stockholm syndrome. These three artworks go in theme of pain and mental struggle, and it shows by red colors like black and white that are kind of like depressing, I guess. The two more artworks that I want to talk about are Capture Me, which is painted with watercolors. I don't really usually work with different medias, and this was an experiment for me. I used watercolors for my piece to give the feeling of lightweight situation. This painting shows the healing process after toxic relationships and how you try to understand your body and your mental health after tragic events. The last artwork that I did in IB is named I Love Me More. This is a final painting in my theme of toxic relationships, which means the full recovery from tragic events. And for me, it matters a lot because it shows my growth of my skill in art and both in understanding myself as a person. I used acrylic paint to do it. And this artwork also shows my style that I came to after doing IB. And I'm really happy that I got to show all of my artworks in this exhibition, and I'm really proud that people can look at my art and enjoy it as much as I do.
Hi, my name is Duana, and this is my IB art exhibition. For my theme, I was looking into socioeconomic problems in Nepal and the duality between the beauty that's found in my culture and the people and the community, but also the harshness that can be integrated throughout the daily lives of the people in Nepal. And this painting was one of my third pieces into my collection. and I was just looking at the lives of the street kids around Nepal because they're very like common, and where they live, how they live, and what they kind of do in their day-to-day lives. I got to go around my community, find and talk to some of the people who live around there. So all my paintings are based on images that I took myself. And this painting is deep to me because I actually got to talk with the kid that I painted, and he his life and this glue sniffing is a problem that's seen amongst a lot of the younger kids who are street children, and they live on like the roads and they live on cardboard. So I wanted to integrate that into my paintings. So a lot of my pieces are mixed media. So I work with putting the environment that they're from into my paintings and replicating that. And a lot of my paintings, I try to subtly incorporate small symbolism. So in my other piece called The Blue Poppy, it's just the beauty amongst the older generations, and it's a resilient plant that is found in the Himalayas. So I've also put that through in other pieces of my work. And I started off a lot on the socioeconomic side, but as I got to explore more into my themes and work closer with my community, I wanted to also pay homage to the older generations, because often a lot of the younger generations tend to leave Nepal to find better opportunities and work, study, and a lot of the older generation is just left behind. And I also wanted to bring them into my pieces, and through that I also ended up bringing into my own childhood memories. So at the end, the whole piece is just a remembrance of Nepal and the beauty that's found in the chaos in my country. Putting all my pieces up together really brought in, tied it together in the idea that I wanted, even though it didn't start off with an idea to have all those themes covered in my exhibition. They all somehow looking at it in the exhibition, it looks tied together and it all flows together, because it's just accepting the beauty and seeing the beauty of Nepal, even with the side challenges and the harshness, but yeah, and how resilient the people of my community are.
Hello, my name's Layla, and this is my IB art. The main theme in my IB art was trying to shed light on unrepresented communities, and this idea stemmed from my artist influence. Most of my artists came from the Black community, and therefore they represented the Black community in their artworks, as previously when they were young and historically, they didn't see many of themselves in galleries and they felt out of place. And so I also wanted to contribute to this idea. However, I wanted to make it have a more personal connection to me. And so I focused on less fortunate communities within Phuket, mostly in poverty, and to further influence how I was going to create my works and the topics I was going to focus on, I went to many villages to see their ways of life, donating food, and just seeing the disadvantages and the hope that they can bring within our communities. So this can be seen through this piece. In this piece, I use mixed media, as in the foreground of the children, I use pastel, and then the background was acrylic paint. So I used bamboo as my background also, and I wanted to use unconventional materials throughout my artworks, as I thought it was a good way to show that communities in Phuket, they do face many disadvantages and they aren't economically stable. However, the use of the environment can really improve their situations, maybe better than people in other places around the world. And that's what I wanted to show through this piece. And so I wanted to change the traditional stereotype of poverty being seen as in a negative light, and to change it into a more positive light. It brought me a lot of satisfaction. However, it was also a bit emotional, because this journey was 2 years, and throughout this 2 years I've gone through many emotions, and I feel but I was satisfied in the way I feel I've really developed as an artist. Initially, I just mainly focused on using the traditional medias of color pencil, graphite, and paint. However, as my time continued, I became more experimental and creative with the type of mediums I wanted to convey my messages through.
Hello, my name is Lily Barnett, and I'm a visual arts student in Year 13. Basically, my exhibition is about my interest in architecture because I want to study architecture in university, and a lot of my work centers around different cultures. So I explored cultures like Thailand, which is my own, Japan, Greek, and a few others. And I think that as I went through my journey, I kind of looked at the environment as well. I saw that it was a recurring theme in my work. And yeah, my favorite piece is probably this piece. It's called A Thai Journey. And I spent about a year on and off doing it. And it's a pen piece. And I kind of looked at the evolution of Thai architecture in Bangkok and around Thailand. So I looked at kind of the old architecture, and I wanted to see how it developed. So I drew kind of skyscrapers in the back and then some older temples. And I just wanted to show like I guess when I grew up in Thailand, what I was surrounded by and just the how it influences architecture. And another piece I liked was my 3D tree. And it's basically, I used pottery and I made it with glue gun and wire, and it's inspired by an artist called Patrick Bergsma, and he basically integrates nature and architectural elements. And I always wanted to show that nature prevails whether man-made things are broken or not, and it's like I just wanted to show the relationship between architecture and nature. I spent a lot of my pieces a really long time doing, and it seems like satisfying and nice to see my journey as an artist, and I really like seeing everyone's work, what everyone was working on, and I'm really proud of everyone and myself.
Hi, I'm Lola, and this is my IB art exhibition. My theme was mainly centered around women, and the beginning of my journey started focusing on more influential women and how they affected me and my own identity. But as I progressed and I made new pieces throughout the last 2 years, the theme kind of shifted to more the idea of being a woman itself and female form and portraying flesh and what it means to be a woman in the 21st century. So this is one of my favorite pieces that I made. This is a canvas done in acrylic, and my subject was Kate Moss. And the general idea of this piece was portraying how identity is often lost when you're a model, or when there's a lot of external noise and opinions on you, your identity gets lost in the process. So I used Gerhard Richter as one of my artist influences, and as you can see, I've kind of blurred some of the portraits to show how her identity is blended to like the words that people use to describe her. And there's a mixture of like negative and positive opinions throughout the back. And I also wanted to do it in a more like Basquiat style to connect to the time in which Kate Moss was most relevant, I would say, in her industry. And then these pieces here are some of my more recent ones, where I focus more on the treatment of women. So in this bottom piece, this is a digital photo collage I made inspired by Martha Rosler's Cargo Cult, where I took all these images myself, and I wanted to show the links between how women's bodies are sold, similar to how meat is sold at a market. And so I've collaged different photos of meat with body parts and like prices to kind of show like also like the mass exportation of ideals or like beauty standards. And then in this piece, this is inspired by Jenny Savile, and I just wanted to portray like an abstract idea of human flesh. So I used wax to build up and create texture, and then oil paint to kind of add more dimension and relate to like different parts of a woman's body and the changes it goes through time. I think I felt very proud of myself, of course, because it has been a very long journey, and it feels good to just see everyone's work, not just my own, but how it's all really come together. And yeah, I think it turned out really well.
Hi, so my name is Mila, and I'm a IB visual arts student at BISP, and this is my art exhibition. So my theme was portraiture and expressionism, focusing on bad habits and how they can lead to external and internal chaos, which can lead to feelings of isolation and stress. I've always been pretty good at like color pencils and capturing details, so like hyperrealism and like realism in general. And I like using very like bright colors, so I mostly did like acrylic on canvas or color pencil on paper, but I also experimented with photography since I got my camera for Christmas, and I also have tried making a couple sculptures to kind of experiment with different medias. My first piece that I started at the start of year 12 was this color pencil piece of an eye, and I kind of just wanted to start with kind of showing how stress and isolation that are caused from bad habits can kind of be expressed through emotions. So I wanted to focus on really capturing details of like a human eye, and I chose like a tearful expression to kind of capture that. So this was my starting point, but I feel like it was lacking in symbolism and composition since this image is from the internet. So I kind of wanted to create my own reference images and explore my theme through like more meaningful compositions. So then I started with this piece, which are all images of myself that I have edited. And I wanted to also make it very colorful and bright, and I chose to do acrylic paint for this, and it kind of just shows how procrastination and neglect of tasks can lead to like stress, and how that can just feel overwhelming, which is relatable to me as an IB student. So yeah, I just wanted to show that for my next piece. One of my favorite pieces that I've made during my IB was this big acrylic piece, which took me a very long time, but I wasn't that good at acrylic paint. I was better at color pencils, but I wanted to improve my techniques and experiment with a different media. And I chose to work on a big scale because the artist that I was inspired by also does this. And with this image, I chose my family members, and I kind of wanted to capture how bad habits like excessive use of technology can impact relationships and just how that looks in everyday life. So I edited my images to make the adults that are on the phone kind of black and white, to portray how like energy and life is kind of being sucked out of someone if they're just constantly engrossed on the screens. And then I left the boy and the background like a vibrant color, which kind of, I did that with all my work. I wanted to make it visually pleasing, so I chose very saturated colors. And yeah, this one took me quite a while, but I'm happy with how it came out. I also wanted to experiment with my ceramics techniques since I was never really that good at it, and I just wanted to experiment with it. So this piece I made was also focusing on bad habits like excessive technology use. So this one actually also took me a very long time, and the process was quite tedious because the first time, because of trapped air bubbles, it like blew up in the kiln during the firing process. So then when I remade it, it was accidentally dropped on the floor, so it shattered everywhere. So I had to remake it a third time, which is this one right here. And to better kind of show the theme of like excessive technology use and how that can kind of like be overwhelming and all-consuming, I decided to wrap wires that I found using a hot glue gun, and I just wrapped it around the woman. And then I made a bowl to kind of represent a barrier between the woman and the child, to kind of visually represent how this can strain relationships and cause like barriers just because of the digital age that we're in at the moment. Seeing all my art visually displayed at the art exhibition was a really nice feeling because it's something that I've worked on for the past 2 years, and I've spent a lot of like time and effort on it. So to just see it all displayed everywhere is really nice, and being able to show my work to other people and just what I've been working on and spending my time on was really nice, and I do feel a big sense of achievement.
Hi, my name is Thammatida, but you can call me Mon. I am an IB visual art student, and here's my artwork for exhibition. So here's my favorite artworks. So this one, it's captured the interconnectedness of the ecosystem. This work is reflecting how every organism relies on another organism. Like this piece that they have corals that are growing on the well. And here's my another favorite piece, which is the embroidery. So I embroidered the corals community on 2 hoops, and each hoop has different composition. One of them seemed to be more abundant than the other. This is to suggest that our coral communities are really fragile, so we have to take care of them. I feel proud of my work because I've been through lots of difficulties and challenging during each one of them, because some are new skills that I learned throughout the IB year. So I'm very happy for how it turned out.
Hi, my name is Zhysha. I'm the IB Art Scholar at BISP, and this is my IB Art exhibition. My initial theme was just architecture, but I decided to change it and make the theme about me, as I've never really done any self-reflection in my pieces before. So I decided to reflect on my homesickness, my family, and just myself as an artist. The piece behind me is my first ever self-portrait, which was a new experience that I actually really enjoyed. I love drawing architecture and creating creative spaces within buildings, so I decided to incorporate both in my composition with London architecture and Thai architecture that are culturally different, but I merged them in my own way. The piece behind me is called There's More That Meets the Eye. It's my favorite piece, and it's also very large in scale. It's mainly about myself and my family and how I grew up, and me just reminiscing on my thoughts and feelings of moving from London to Thailand on my own, and my parents are still in London. And yeah, I was just appreciating what my parents provided for me, and just my family and friends at home, and my culture of being Indian and Jamaican as well, which I was appreciating. My second piece is called Nostalgia. It's one of my favorite pieces. It's very high in detail and is inspired by an artist called Zhysha Kim. The composition is mainly local shops that I have memories with in London, and just again reminiscing on the memories, my friends, family back at home, and but still appreciating where I am. And I think it's a very unique piece where loads of people from England will know most of these shops as well. So it's very nice to see. It made me feel pretty emotional because IB art is not an easy subject. It does take a lot of time. And as the art scholar, I did have a lot of pressure of how my skills should be represented and how I should really tell my own story. But I was really proud of myself when I saw it all together. When I was organizing it, it was really fun and just excited to express my art to the school for the first time as an artist.
Closing the 2025 Visual Arts exhibition, I'd like to thank everyone involved, including the parents and the students and everyone that helped to put the exhibition together, as well as the visiting artists. Thank you for taking the time to watch and view all of our students' work. Yes, thank you for coming. Bye.